This video is the second and the last part to my Palworld mod devlog playthrough, and Hardmode turned out a lot more complex than I anticipated. If you haven't seen the first video, don't worry. I made a mod allowing the player to capture NPCs and use them like minions, and Hardmode is where things get challenging. Let's get started. I have two goals at this point. Getting the spider armor set for more minions and damage, and finding a good NPC to capture and defeat the mechanical bosses with. With that in mind, I went underground and did some scouting. A lot of you asked me to make NPCs easier to see, so I added arrows above them. I also added more capturable AI styles, with casters such as imps and flying fishes. The new NPCs available in Hardmode meant a lot more options to pick from, and to be honest, it was a bit overwhelming at this point. I added a bunch of biome-themed capture spheres, with 200% increased damage and capture threshold bonuses in specific biomes. To compensate, I reduced the capture threshold of the normal sphere to 10% instead of 15%, meaning you'll have to damage your target more before capturing it. The one I will be aiming for right now is the underground capture sphere, with bonuses in purity caverns and ice underground biomes. It is made with diamonds and platinum bars. I went to the jungle biome searching for moon glows, which I will be using to make spelunker potions. Tortoises can be tamed now, and I won't complain if I can catch a few OP mobs like that right off the bat. I played with a crab statue for a while, and I wonder if one of them could be used to create actually powerful enemies to tame, but I'll leave you guys to figure it out. I'm clearly undergeared for this biome, and I didn't last very long. Turns out I had actually found a moon glow without noticing it, so I didn't do all that for nothing. I found a rock golem, which I didn't even know existed and seemed like a super strong capture to get. And I mean, look at that. How am I supposed to die with a bodyguard like this? I eventually found the diamond and platinum I needed and got my underground capture sphere. I was going to need it with the time I'm going to spend in caves. While I'm at it, I might as well go for the sky capture sphere, which requires harpy feathers and clouds to be made. It is effective in all the above ground parts of the map, and not only in the sky, making it a staple in terms of usability. There is one final capture sphere that can be crafted by using all the other capture spheres in the mod. That is effective everywhere, but I'm not going for it in this video. It requires souls from the mechanical bosses too, so no point in rushing it in a normal playthrough. I noticed a bug where it is not possible to switch in and out of capture and combat formations while holding a sphere other than the basic one. As a reminder, these formations are triggered using keybind, and tamed NPCs will not kill other mobs while in capture formation, only get them low enough to be tamed. I went up in the sky, found a sky island and farmed everything I needed to get my new sphere. I'm probably going to be using a lot more archers in the future, as they seem to make grinding really easy without taking any damage themselves. The bug was a very stupid one. I was simply checking if the item in the player hand was specifically the basic sphere instead of any capture sphere before trying to switch formations. With my new spheres in hand, I went back to the underground to try and find the spider biome. I found the wizard, which was useless. I got the pig run and the nymph, which were both cool but pretty bad. Died to a bat, went back down, got sidetracked, died again, captured some more stuff, and died more, before eventually finding a spider cave. The goal now is to make a nice farming area, where I will be able to grind a ton of black recluses to get my spider armor. Notice that spiders can be tamed now, because with the majority of summoners going for them as soon as Hardmode begins, it wouldn't make any sense for them not to be. That traveling merchant didn't sell anything interesting, but I bought a clock because it looked cool before going back to setting up my grinding area. In no time I was set up, and could almost AFK my way out. It's almost disappointing that the Eye of Tulu won't spawn in caverns. Regardless, it was destroyed, and I crafted my armor set. With it, I get one more minion slot, which means 2 more capture slots. I needed to start farming Souls of Night to craft the mechanical boss's items, and went to the underground Crimson. I found the Golfer, which is super useful, a mechanical skull which is going to save me quite a bit of time, and this thing, which, yeah, I think I know what I'm going to be using against the mech bosses. Most definitely. Without the Crimson Capture Sphere, I am definitely too weak to effectively capture enemies in this biome, and I need vertebrae to craft the mechanical worm for the destroyer. I decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and went into the pre-hard mode Crimson biome. The evil capture sphere is made with tissue samples and crimtane bars, and as expected, the Brain of Tulu didn't stand any chance against giant bats and black recluses. I got a mechanical eye, and at this point I was hoping I could skip the mithril anvil grind altogether. Smashing the crimson hearts for the Brain of Tulu meant a goblin army would eventually arrive too, which would give me access to reforges and accessory upgrades. Surely it wouldn't take too long, right? I grinded the vertebrae I needed, and used the night as an opportunity to defeat the skeleton and get access to the dungeon, which would certainly be useful later. I used the fight to test how strong a floaty gross would be, since they are pretty common, and a single one was close to taking out the boss by itself. With my new capture sphere, I went into the underground Crimson and started capturing Ichor stickers for the mechanical bosses. I'm confident the flying carpet combined with the sandstorm in the bottle will give me enough mobility for the fight and should replace wings. I swapped the guide and the nurse housings though, for no reason in particular. Okay, I definitely needed wings. Ichor stickers really carried the fight, and I had to use the nurse a lot of times, which I don't like doing. Once Spasmatism died though, a single flock of floating gross was enough to take care of Retinazer and finish the fight. Even though I dislike chasing bosses with the nerfs, I'm gonna take this win. I definitely need more gear though, and will prepare more for upcoming bosses. If only the goblin army could arrive at some point. There's no way I will be able to avoid grinding for a mithril anvil now, isn't it? I crafted the mechanical worm to summon the destroyer, but at this point I'm still clearly not strong enough to defeat it. The first step was to find an enemy that will deal a lot of damage, and would be easy to find in large quantities. I instantly thought of spiders, and started farming. Trying to get some more quick summoner upgrades, I built a few NPC houses to get the Witch Doctor, got this cool vanity set from the Clothier, went to the dungeon so I could find a bewitching table for more captures, got a jetpack from the Steampunker, and did some decoration. I still needed more houses, and the Witch Doctor arrived just in time, right before the night. I got my pygmy necklace, and decided to spend my blood moon farming for more spiders for the destroyer fight, just in case. I even got a water candle from the dungeon to speed up the process. I noticed another bug, where the NPC damage reduction in capture mode didn't account for summon damage bonuses, meaning capturable NPCs will be killed even in capture mode once you start getting some gear. I fixed it, and went back to farming spiders. The destroyer was a lot easier than the twins, as spiders got rid of it in under 30 seconds. I even took the opportunity to capture a bunch of probes after the fight. After a little bit of preparation, I started the Skeleton Prime fight, and wings definitely made dodging extremely easy. I ran out of captures to throw at him at the end, but using whatever I had left was enough to defeat it. I got myself a full hallowed armor.
Woot!
The next step is Plantera, and I found the bulb right next to my arena. I knew I only had one shot at getting such a well-placed one, so I started preparing as well as I could. Without surprise, not having the jungle capture sphere wasn't gonna cut it, and I started farming for it. I needed stingers, vines, and jungle spores to craft it. I died a lot, and found 2 moths, which I obviously tamed. After a while, I got everything I needed and crafted my new sphere. Another boss, another grind. This time the obvious choice was clearly moss hornets, but I also stacked on wall creepers and giant tortoises. I had an army at this point, and the poor Plantera didn't stand a chance. I found the jungle temple shortly after, which immediately warned me of the fun to come. If you tell me you saw that trap, you're a liar. I made a shortcut to get to the temple faster and blazed through it with my swarm of creatures. After making the final room safer, I faced Golem. Moss hornets turned out a bit weak against this boss, and it's a good thing I ran out of them because I would probably have died if I swapped to jungle creepers any later. Their base damage of 100 compared to the max 72 of the hornets really made a huge difference, and their ability to walk on the walls made them super reliable. I got a tiki armor for a quick... Wait, hold on. I got a tiki armor for a quick upgrade and moved the witch doctor to the jungle biome so I could get a Hercules beetle from him. While waiting for the night, I went to the dungeon to gauge the difficulty of the cultist and... don't mind if I do? I didn't have enough cannon fodder for the fight, but as expected, it didn't seem too hard. I would have to be careful with its projectiles though, as they can easily clear my captures. I needed heavy hitting, easy to get flying creatures, and out of the flying snakes in the jungle temple. I farmed some more gold and bought that Hercules beetle for more summon damage before going for the cultist again, actually prepared this time. Flying snakes was super good, but the fight was way too close for comfort. This is where the game becomes absurdly unfair. Everyone has experienced the pillars, and you should know how brutal they can be when unprepared. Most enemies move too fast for captures to catch up, and blast through them with projectiles. I tried reaching the dungeon, thinking I'd be able to get my hands on paladins, skeleton snipers and the like, but they turned out to be too rare to be farmed reliably. On the bright side, I found a bug where tamed NPCs will spawn friendly dungeon spirits that try to attack the player, but can't. I fixed it by making dungeon spirits tameable, and giving them a custom behavior. Once again, I needed reliable flying captures to deal with the pillars, so I went into the underground jungle and made a massive stash of everything I could find. With my newfound army, I started powering through the pillars. Just kidding, I was still getting obliterated. but at least I was making some progress, and I eventually got rid of the Stardust pillar. The solar pillar was easier. Once I figured that my grounded captures could protect me effectively from most enemies and projectiles, I started using them as a shield and slowly grinding at the pillar. You may think that capturing enemies would be a good idea, and it probably is, but there are so many of them and they deal so much damage that it is impossible most of the time. I still managed to capture a Darkanian, which turned out a bit underwhelming. Summoning a bunch of tortoises, I pushed for the pillar and got rid of it. Next up was the Nebula pillar, and using the same mid-shield strategy as the solar pillar, I made some quick progress. Some enemies, however, were launching homing piercing projectiles that butchered through my captures, and after fighting for a while, my stocks were starting to dwindle. I tamed the Predictor, which was very underwhelming, and most hornets were just too weak to deal with the enemies at this point. I went back to the temple and stood there for a while, capturing enough flying snakes to last me a lifetime. Grinding like this is not the most interesting, and in the released version, capturing a single NPC with a biome sphere will give 2, or 3 when using the universal capture sphere, which is a post-mechanical boss item. As the endgame approaches, the amount of captures you need is exponential, and after Plantera it becomes too much. I spent more than 2 hours sitting in the temple capturing flying snakes in this playthrough, and I don't want you to have the same experience when playing the mod. Slime and Adrian, please forgive me. One more pillar down, remains the Vortex pillar. I went a bit slower on this one, and took the time to capture a few NPCs. Alien Queens got my attention, but most importantly, the goal was to get Storm Divers, which were super fast flying NPCs firing a barrage of projectiles. They are hard to get, but I'm sure getting a few of them will make the Moonlord a breeze. I eventually summoned an army of Alien Queens and got rid of the final pillar. With impending doom approaching, I summoned what would likely be my best combination of captures. A bunch of Alien Queens and the 2 Storm Divers I managed to capture. The fight went awfully wrong, and I immediately died. I crafted the Celestial Sigil, and while I was thinking about what to do next, goblins attacked. Remember that goblin army I was waiting for during the entire playthrough? It took them almost 7 hours of playtime to finally decide to invade my world. I paused for a moment and summoned the best creature I could think of. Alien Queens have proven to be pretty bad, as they fire slow and inaccurate projectiles and I didn't have any Storm Divers left. I will need an endgame creature that would be strong enough to carry me through this fight and defeat the Moonlord on this second try, or I would have to clear the pillars all over again. Flying Serpents. It was Flying Serpents. The plan was to throw Flying Serpents at the boss until it died. I'm not here to be fancy, and so far, they are the only NPC that has never disappointed me and isn't comically hard to farm for. They were very slow, and I'm sure there are solutions that would be a lot better, but by standing still and giving them the time to reach the eyes, they dealt a ton of damage to the boss. I just had to use the nurse frequently to keep me alive until they were done. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. I know you hear it a lot, but if you do like what the creator is doing, it is the best way to help them out. The mod should be available right now on the mod browser. If you do try it, please tell me which oddities you find, because there will likely be a few. There are also a few NPCs I missed and would like to make timeable, such as Vultures and Derplings. Multiplayer compatibility will be added soon too, if it's not already there. Once again, I don't think a mod like this can be balanced, but it makes for a fun and unusual challenge. I hope you will like it. For those of you who stayed until the end, I would love to know your opinions on devlog playthroughs like this one. I think they give a different approach to mod making, and an insight of what goes through my head when making changes and why.